Well, he's the filmmaker who doesn't chase comfort, he confronts it. He is known for his unapologetic storytelling and his ability to peel back the glossy layers of Indian life to expose actually what lies beneath. Hello and welcome. You're watching India Today and I'm Pranjali Sethi. And present with me is a filmmaker who has actually carved his space among India's most daring and distinctive voices. Welcome Kanu Behl. Welcome to India Today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Kanu, let's talk about your upcoming film Agra, which deals about the topic of sexual repression. How did the idea came up?
I had finished Titli and I was thinking what I want to do next. And I went back to my early sort of adulthood, teens, even mid-20s. And I realized कि जब मैं बड़ा हो रहा था, दिल्ली में बड़ा हो रहा था, पटपड़गंज में एक MIG 3 BHK kind of फ्लैट में रिलेटिव प्रिविलेज में ही रह रहा था बट इवन उन कंडीशंस में मैं कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पा रहा था देयर वाज नो रियल अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ हाउ टू इंटरैक्ट विद द ऑपोजिट सेक्स एंड देयर वाज जस्ट जनरली अ लैक ऑफ स्पेस जगह नहीं है और वो प्रिविलेज वाली पोजीशन थी बट उसके साथ साथ कंकरेंटली क्या था कि घर के 5 मिनट दूर मंडावली था और सो आई वाज सीइंग नॉट जस्ट माई सेल्फ आई वाज फीलिंग what I was feeling, but I was seeing a lot of other young boys around me also who were not even as privileged as me. But what they were going through, if, within the same storm, was so much more complex that I said, "यार ये सिर्फ मेरे तक limited नहीं है. This is a much bigger problem. This is a much bigger issue, and this probably needs a conversation around it." So I said, "Yeah, it's an interesting idea to do a film around sexuality and sexual repression, but how am I going to add to this conversation?" What is the new lens that I'm bringing to it? And it took me 2-3 months to think about it कि यार क्या है? Why should this film get made? But eventually when I discovered the idea of space and I said यार ये angle बड़ा interesting है because no one has played a parallel between sexuality and space and how both affect each other. How our sexual lives start affecting the spaces we live in and how the spaces in turn affect our sexuality. And the moment I sort of discovered that, I was like, this is interesting. Now there's probably a film here. So वो करते it's it evolved and it sort of fell in line with.
So that's amazing, but you cast Rahul Roy, the eternal lover boy of Bollywood. In fact, how did that idea also came up? Because that's very amazing.
Yeah, so Rahul actually pretty much walked into the film. It's a very interesting story because I usually do a 3-month workshop before I begin any of my films. And I have multiple sort of options for every part. Like I will have, so Rahul Roy plays this character called Daddy. So there will be 3 daddies, 3 mummies, 3 aunties. So one of my preconditions for the workshop is that you have to be okay with having a so-called contender. Okay. It's not to make your actor insecure. But the thing is, the moment you put an actor in that kind of space, there's an immediate ego check. You know ki ego hai. So that rules out a lot of things because the kind of performances I also look for are very, subsuming for the actors. They cannot afford to be anyone who they think they are outside of the character. So the fact that Rahul came in, first choice to come into these workshops with other possible contenders there, immediately told me, bhai, there is no Rahul Roy. He doesn't think of himself as that, which was so endearing, So just that humility is so endearing. And then the man's sheer hard work, dedication, immersion in the part. I'm not saying this because I'm with you, Pranjali, but he literally was the first person to come on the workshop every day and he was the last one to leave every day.
Dedication, I feel.
और वो इतना ज़्यादा था and then there's this funny incident that wrapped it all up for me. One of these days we had ended the workshop और हम जहाँ करते थे वहाँ बरगद का पेड़ था. तो 8-9 बजे रात को चाय पी रहे हैं and it's just me and him because everybody has left. So he takes a pause, turns around to me and says, Kanu, ये फिल्म मैं ही करूँगा. और कोई नहीं करेगा. So I was like, that clinched it for me because I was like, अगर ये इतने confidence से आदमी बोल रहा है कि मैं ही करूँगा and no one else is going to do this, and coupled with his dedication, coupled with there are so many similarities between his character in the film and his own life that clinched it for me. I was like, he's the right cast for this part.
हम कुछ ऑफ कैमरा बात कर रहे थे आगरा के बारे में कि उसका टाइटल इनफैक्ट आया कैसे एंड आई वुड लव कि हमारी ऑडियंस जाने कि इसका टाइटल आखिर आया कैसे.
So I started writing the film and I knew कि ये character इतना ज़्यादा मुश्किल character है, interesting character है. This guy is doing things. After a point, he was not in my control. He was writing himself, and he was doing things which were so difficult to deal with that I was like, you know, are people going to think that he's crazy or mad? And the more I wrote him, and the more I wrote the people around him, I felt like, you know, the other people in the house are crazier. If this guy is mad, then they are madder. And so as these people unfolded within the screenplay, I was like, this is almost like a madhouse. This house is like a madhouse. So I was thinking what to call the film. And then obviously the moment you think madhouse, you think Agra ka pagal khana. हम दिल्ली में बड़े हुए हैं, so that's the immediate thing that comes to mind. So I was like, this film has to be called Agra because the Indian idiom, our own recollections, it's an immediate connection to the city and the erstwhile pagal khana.
Talking about your film Titli, it was not just your debut. In fact, it was a statement. In fact, what triggered you to write that story as well?
That film was very. I had a lot of things that were very close to my own life. I mean, I had experienced a lot of the emotional upheaval that the people were feeling and the characters were feeling in that film. Titli, in many ways, was, you know, me. Aside from the whole carjacker angle or the violence angle, the emotional status and the emotional sort of situation of all the characters in the film, I knew very intimately either through my own experience or, you know, I've spoken about it in the past that my father, who played the father in the film,
it was a talk
yeah. So yeah, it was a very personal film. It had probably the first 35 years of my life all scrunched into that film.
Wow.
So now the very important question, like your films don't shy away from nudity, intimacy, or even moral discomfort. Do you think that even like India is emotionally immature when they see realism on screen?
No, I think this is a complete fallacy. I think there is actually a tradition of infantilizing our audiences in India. I think I think most of the Bollywood films that are made are actually just Disney films.
Okay.
We make films for kids,
Yeah.
whereas our audiences are not kids. It's time that we stopped infantilizing them. It's time that we stopped trying to stand on a pedestal, all filmmakers, and pretend that we know everything and there is nothing that is left to be discovered. I think films are an opportunity to have a conversation with your audience, to treat them as an equal, not बच्चों की तरह tell them this is this or do a moral tale or a moral fable. That's really for kids till class 4, 5 maximum, not after that. I would rather, you know, treat that opportunity to make a film as an and look at your audience as people who are good enough to decode for themselves whatever that film is and let it sit with them. I feel like when an audience becomes part of the conversation by not knowing everything and by not having a stand in the film, then the film affects them more and it has an opportunity for more change, hopefully.
Like, okay, so amazing. But which recent Bollywood film impressed you emotionally, or did you find it very dark, or like what?
I mean, I don't really subscribe to the word Bollywood. So, Hindi film. Are you saying which Hindi film? Which the last Hindi film that interested me? I would say. I mean, I don't know about Hindi, but I saw Sabarbanda and I really liked it. It's a Marathi film. It was at Sundance. Yeah, one of my. I saw Humans in the Loop, which was really interesting. So yeah, these were a couple of films which were really interesting for me recently.
Have you ever written a scene that actually scared you, or it comes from a very, personal understanding you were writing? It was like, ये तो मैंने पहले भी experience कर रखा है.
Yeah. I mean, there are many of those in Agra. When I was writing them, I was quite taken aback by what Guru was doing, and there are really difficult scenes within the film. हाँ तो वो तो था that journey of writing Guru was quite a difficult journey for me also personally, because the interesting thing was, I realized very soon that I don't know this guy fully. As I said, I was growing up in Patparganj,
Yes.
and so I had a little bit of privilege, and I realized that the Guru that I'm trying to write is not fully me. So I had to even do some things to try and get close to his mental state,
Yes.
because his class was different, his space was much more
Yes.
smaller and limited, and what he was going through was completely different.
Yes.
So I had to find ways to actually put myself emotionally in that place to say, भाई इसको feel क्या हो रहा है exactly? How do I get close to that? So that process to figure out ways to get closer to the storm that he's feeling in the film, that in itself was a very, very difficult sort of process before I actually ended up writing what is the film now.
डू यू एक्चुअली फील हमारे हिंदी सिनेमा, हम नॉर्मली बात करते हैं हिंदी सिनेमा का डाउनफॉल हो रहा है, एंड पीपल से दैट सदर्न सिनेमा लाइक कांतारा, पुष्पा, उसका हम देखते हैं कि वो बहुत एक ऊंचे आज उस पे एक मुकाम पे पहुंच रहे हैं. व्हाट्स योर आइडिया अबाउट दैट?
I mean, I think it's twofold. First of all, the most important thing is I think they have their financial model worked out. What Southern cinema is doing, all those 4-5 languages down south are doing right now, is that everyone within that structure, actors included, right down from the bottom up to the biggest star, they know what a film should be made for, to be able to get you the freedom to do exactly what you want to do, and you don't have to do things to pander to the market. And that's why we are seeing so much more original ideas and content from there, because there is no pressure on them. They know that these are our numbers, we have this sort of loyal whatever fan base or following, and this we can recover. And they look at that, and then they control their budgets, and they get by themselves that freedom to make exactly what they want to make, And this is best seen in Kerala now, actually.
Yes.
They make films, really small films, 2 crore, 3 crore, and they've cracked that model where every film is successful and it recovers money, and hence producers and investors are also willing to reinvest in those filmmakers again, and their oomph sort of expands, and they're able to do better and better work. So I think that's one part of it for sure. The other is obviously also we have now an aging sort of star system. Our big 5, big 6, जो भी
Yes,
बोलते हैं,
yes.
they are all aging now, and they are all sort of in a flux themselves.
Yes, but
They,
newcomers, I guess, were doing a good job.
I don't
Like
think so.
somehow.
I don't think I don't think there's any filling that gap yet.
That's true.
And also, I think most of the actors who are now, who should be taking up that mantle, are not very experimental. They are not. They are. I think they look at themselves more as brands first than performers or actors. So that will affect the quality of the film, because at the end of the day, you're not really thinking about the film first.
Yes.
As an actor or performer, you're thinking about yourself first, which cinema is not supposed to do, I guess. So I think ये 2-3 कारण मिलके are sort of the pillars of why we are seeing this flux, this change.
Talking about the national awards recently, there was much debate. इसको मिलना चाहिए, इसको गलत मिल गया. What is your idea?
I mean, I wouldn't know what to say about that. I mean, let's just say I've had a checkered sort of history with the national awards myself. Even with Titli, there were things that I heard about that film while the national awards were announced. I mean, they're clearly political. Let's call a spade a spade. I feel like the national awards have been political forever. I mean, it's not just now. It's not in these last few years. It has become its own sort of political tool, and I'm not sure the national awards are the best benchmark of the best cinema out there anymore.
So you don't think he deserving को ही मिलता है?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I mean, and I don't think इसको कुछ बहुत बड़ा thought देने की ज़रूरत है. I mean, the winners list that you'll see every year, there'll be, you know, a lot of debate that there are plenty of other films
Yes.
that are better than the winners out there.
So now, chalo, before wrapping up the conversation, we'll just do a quick rapid fire round with you. When was the last time a film made you cry and why?
Ritwik Ghatak's Baadi Ke Balli.
Oh, wow.
One actor who can actually or truly pull out a Kanu Behl film.
Ooh, there are many. Abhay Deol, Rajshri, Ranveer Singh,
OTT or theaters?
theaters.
Why?
I think that's the original cinema experience. It's the community experience. People are supposed to come watch a film in a dark theater together.
If Agra had a Bollywood remake, who would you never cast from Bollywood?
Who would I never cast
Yes.
in Agra?
Yes.
Shah Rukh Khan.
Shah Rukh Khan. So my last question, like one thing that Bollywood must unlearn immediately.
They need to unlearn the old ways and look away from the traditional star system and embrace basically the new set of audiences. I think there are young people now who are exposed to all kinds of cinema from all across the world, and I don't think they are looking forward to the same regurgitated Ghana, over dramatic, preachy, moralistic stories. They don't want that anymore. And that's why we are seeing the footfalls drop in the theatre.
So on this note, we'll wrap our conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on India Today.
Thank you. It's lovely.